So today I'm going to be talking to you about some of my failed attempts at trying to get the speed climber achievement in Slay the Spire. And I guess along the way I'll talk just generally about my thoughts and feelings while trying to get this specific achievement, and also I guess my feelings on this kind of achievement and how I feel about it, especially as it relates to turn-based games in particular. But before that, I've got some words of inspiration for you. As you can see, we have on the screen right now. It says, "Every failure is an opportunity to grow." Now, I said I failed many times on my way towards eventually getting this achievement, and so wouldn't that be true of those failures as well? Like, yeah, I failed a bunch of times, but couldn't you find something positive in that experience? Like maybe with each failure, you're getting a little bit better. Maybe you're getting a little bit more savvy. You're getting a little bit more intelligent, and just building yourself up to eventually be able to achieve all your hopes and dreams. All those failures are just stepping stones along the way. Well, my friends, I'm here to tell you that I can reveal unambiguously, unequivocally, and undeniably that every single word on the screen right now is a complete and total lie. I set you up, you bought it, I bamboozled you. None of this is true. To be sure, when it comes to speedrunning Slay the Spire, or I guess just getting this specific achievement, there is a bit of a learning curve. So maybe in roughly the first 1 hour or so, I'm gonna say I had the kinds of failures that I was able to learn from in a meaningful way. Okay, which cards to take, which cards not to take, and a better instinct for like what immediately to do when presented with a course of action. So, like, let's say about an hour or so into this process, with my own limitations in mind, I felt like I got to the point where I couldn't feel myself getting any better. It wasn't reflected in the times or the results. I mean, I knew I could do it, but the only way I could do it was waiting for a run where the stars aligned and kind of just waiting for things to go your way eventually by chance. To me, it kind of felt like being trapped in a weird purgatory where I'm just playing the same slot machine over and over again. Except in this scenario, I have to then wait 10, 15, 20 minutes to find out whether I've won. And I essentially have to have my hand on the lever the whole time. So, one potential counter argument might be, aren't all runs like that? Like, you might be doing an Ascension 20 run where you go very far and then right at the end you end up losing. But the difference is, in a normal run that I'm playing at a normal pace, there's time for the other parts of the game to sink in, right? I will, even if I don't read every single line, the events that happen in the game, they will register to me as events and not just, you know, mechanical numerical operations on the way to eventually achieving stochastic superiority over this gambling operation I'm embroiled in. I'll build a narrative as I'm going through, like, oh, here's a thing that happened early on in the realm, here's a decision that I made, here's this NPC that I came across in the middle of the realm who gave me these options, and that kind of screwed me over. And it'll make the run feel meaningful even if I lost. But like a speed run where I'm just rushing through like a lunatic, not engaging with anything, not reading anything, and then I get to the end, but I end up failing because I'm 12 seconds too slow. What do I what do I do with that? You know what I mean? But we'll get to all of that in due time. Before we get to that, there's a little bit of housekeeping I'll get to, which is this is technically also part of a playthrough that I'm doing. Technically, this is meant to be episode 7 of a series of me trying to go from 0 to 100% of Slay the Spire, which obviously would involve getting the Speed Climber achievement as well. And the reason I'm getting this so early in the series is because I knew how annoying it was going to be for me. And I wanted to get it done early. I didn't want one of my lasting late game memories to be marred by having to get an achievement, having to put myself through the ordeal of getting an achievement like this. So yeah, this is incidentally what the thumbnail would have been for this video had it been a normal episode in the Let's Play. But of course, it was not a normal episode because this is not a normal kind of achievement. Now, before I go on, just a little bit of housekeeping. I did get some minor achievements while doing these speed climber runs. Specifically, I got this one, this one, this one, and this one. And there's going to be a timestamp in the description, just so that I can document the exact point in the footage where these achievements popped. I'm not going to upload the entire runs because I'm not going to upload all of my failed speed climber attempts, but I did capture the point in the footage where each of these achievements popped. And they're not even that special, but just to make sure all of my progress is documented, that's going to be a part that's going to be right at the end of the video. Because this video isn't about minor achievements, it's about one achievement specifically. Now, I said a couple minutes ago, or like a minute ago, that Speed Climber is not a normal achievement. Now, you might be looking at this and saying, well, what's so bad about it? 7.2 attainment, yeah, that's kind of low, but it's not that bad. It's not like, I don't know, something like Mein Leben from Wolfenstein, which is sitting at 1.1, like almost 1%. That's like 1 out of 100. 7.2, we can round that up to 10. That's basically 1 in 10. Well, yeah, it's more like 1 in 14, but like you get the drift. So what's the issue, right? But here's the difference the way I see it. Mein Leben is an achievement in a first-person shooter game. And yes, admittedly, it's a very extreme and very difficult one. But achievements like that, what they are expecting you to do is, they are expecting players to do the things that they were already doing in the game, but to just do them much better, at a much higher level of skill. What Speed Climber is expecting you to do is, it's expecting you to take this turn-based card game and play it as though you're a psychopath. I can't think of any other way to say it. It's just so far removed from anything else I will ever do in this entire game, is to the point where it almost feels a little surreal. And I know to some people the novelty is what they enjoy. Some people do genuinely enjoy playing games quickly, but some people don't. And I, at this point, am starting to believe it's not just that some people don't, it's that some people can't. genuinely do think it's innate what people will and won't find enjoyable. And you can push your limits a little, but there are limits to how far you can push your limits. Okay, so that was, you know, me rambling on philosophical tangents. Let's uh let's put a stop to that and let's get back to the issue at hand. Let's talk about speed climbers specifically. Now, let's start at the beginning. So I knew ahead of time this was going to be a difficult achievement, right? So I got my start in, pretty standard fashion. I went to Google and I typed in Slay the Spire how to get speed climber. And I started reading the results. Got some Reddit posts, always a good time, and of course some videos popped up. And videos can be more helpful than just reading through walls of text. Though I've read plenty of Reddit answers as well. Now, one issue was that a lot of the advice in the videos and even in the more text-based formats was coming from speedrunners or people who enjoy maybe just speedrunning casually and they're not, full-time, but like people who are into that kind of thing. And you might be saying, well, hey, that how is that a problem? These people, they are aren't they the experts? Wouldn't they be the people you would want to consult if you were figuring out how to get a difficult speed-based achievement? And yes, on some level that is very true. Those are the people who you'd want to talk about to answer the technical side of what you need to do to get the achievement done. However, one thing that bugged me, and I've had this issue in the past when I've looked up guides for speed achievements in other games, is that speedrunners, I feel, especially ones who've been doing it for a long time, lose track for how difficult things can be for non-speedrunners. They lose the sense of how to gauge the difficulty curve. Not even the difficulty curve, but just what the experience is going to be like for a non-speedrunner. I think they go into it with the expectation that everybody's a speedrunner at heart, and some people just haven't discovered it. And oh, if only they do this a few times, they will learn the joy of speedrunning. And I'm sure that's true of some people. They didn't, maybe they had no idea, and then they tried speed climber and they're like, wow, I love this. It's the best thing ever. But then there are people like me, right? Who just like, man, I'm playing this game. I want to enjoy the ambiance. I want to enjoy the music, the fun, quirky dialogue. I- It's like it's a turn-based. It's a card game. What are we doing? And this like okay, I'm gonna stop venting. I am building up to a point. My point is that when speedrunners put together guides like this, I I genuinely think are unable to understand the physical and psychological toll it can take on people who are just who don't have the speed run gene, let's put it like that. People who will never learn to enjoy this style of play. It can be a very, very different experience from what you will see when you watch videos like this. And I know I'm not even criticizing them. I'm not saying that they should, scare players by telling them, "Oh, it's gonna suck. It's gonna be the worst." Of course, they should encourage people and say, "Yeah, you can do it." But I also think part of preparing people for doing achievements like this is you've got to prepare them for the entire range of emotions that they are about to experience. Otherwise, things can get uh, things can get a little bit hairy. So what we're gonna do is, I don't even know how deep we are into this episode because I've cut so many times, but we are gonna look at some of my failed runs. And I'm gonna try and walk you through the kinds of things I felt. Some of these I'm gonna be watching back for the first time. Literally, all I did was I organized some of them and I named them. I organized them based on which ones reached the Act 3 boss, and I threw away everything else. If I was showing you all my failed runs, then this would be I think about at least a 5 hour video. But I'm only showing you the ones that reached the final hurdle and then failed somehow. So just keep in mind that there were other failures. Not listed here are things like I got killed by a random trash mob. I got killed by uh, the Act 1 boss. I got killed by the Act 2 boss. Or I was on pace, but then I ran into the transient and he wasted like a minute. And then I reached the final boss with, 2 seconds on the clock. And, just spend 10 minutes crying or something like that. Or I'm trying to remove a block from my deck and my controller slips and I accidentally remove Whirlwind. Like all of those things have happened. Some of them were recorded, some of them weren't. The big moments were recorded, so those are what we'll show you. What I'll show you, and we'll go through. I'll do a bit of commentary on the strategy of it because that is also important. But this is less of a guide for how to speedrun Slay the Spire and more just a documenting of what it's like for a non-speedrunner to try and get a difficult speedrun achievement. So without further ado, actually, not yeah, we'll watch this. So I have 6 runs recorded in total, all of them reaching the same 2 bosses, the Awakened and Time Eater. 4 of them got to Time Eater, 2 of them got to Awakened. So I think what we'll do is we'll show maybe 2 Time Eater runs, then 1 Awakened run, then 2 more Time Eater, 1 more Awakened. Yeah, let's see what happened in this run, right? Some of these I'm going to be watching back for the first time, so let's see what happened. First of all, I immediately forfeit the run because I wanted the bonus where the first 3 elites only have 1 health because it saves you a ton of time. And if you got far in your previous run, like if you got to the first boss or further, you get offered quote unquote better things. And while they may be better for other runs, for speed runs, they are. Some of them might be good for speed runs, but I'm not a good enough player. I'm not a dedicated enough speed demon to get those to have like that much of an instantaneous reaction of being like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good. I'm gonna keep it. I'm a simple man. I prefer simple solutions. And one simple solution, as we saw, was the skill I picked up at the shop, which was Perfected Strike, which gets better with every card you have that basically contains the word strike. It's a it's not the best, it's not the easiest thing. It's kind of cumbersome. It's like I guess everything is cumbersome in this game until you get your energy problem sorted out. But it's a way to do damage. Let's leave it at that. So we got our perfected strikes. One good thing is that it suddenly turns your basic strikes from a liability into an asset because it makes the perfected strike stronger. As you can see, I also picked up Limit Break, which is a very good card, very good pickup. But Limit Break is only useful if you have a source of strength. Now, we do also have a source of strength, which is Flex. I will say Flex and Limit Break, it's better for builds where you have attacks where you're landing lots of hits, like, I don't know, Sword Boomerang or um, Pummel, I guess. Whirlwind, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it's not gonna hurt with a uh, perfected strike build, but it's not gonna do very much for you. One thing I'll do is, oh, okay, so I got the Runic Dome. So the Runic Dome, let me look this up. It gives you energy. Let me just look up remind myself what the condition was. I'm not gonna be pausing and doing like deep analysis because, as we know, spoiler alert, these are failed runs. But some things do deserve to be reiterated, which is, oh, and double tap obviously is a. I think that was double tap, right? Sorry, I was on my phone looking up Runic Dome to make sure I'm not providing misinformation. So Runic Dome gives you energy at the start of each turn, but you can no longer see the enemy intent. This can mess you up pretty badly if you are relying on spot weakness. But if you're just relying on flex limit break, it can be pretty good. So as you can see, I'm improving double tap. But really, even with the extra energy from the Runic Dome, it's a bit of a struggle. Now, this enemy is so annoying because if you don't kill him right away, he gains a stupid amount of shield and then just wastes your time. Or a Calcum, that green metallic bar that I picked up. That's pretty huge. It'll save you so much damage over the course of a run, and that really does add up because you can then, instead of being forced to rest, maybe get an extra upgrade. Or instead of buying a health potion, you can spend it on something else that you really need. And as you can see, we're picking up good strike cards. And I'm not sure which tome I got, what it even does, but uh, it well, obviously we know with the benefit of hindsight, it didn't help me win this run, but you know, at least it helped me get past the Act 2 boss, which is coming up right now, and this is the champ. And I believe this might even be the run where I got the achievement for beating the champ for the first time, because I did come across him in one of the earlier episodes, and I think I might have even come close to beating him, but he got the better of me. This time around, he I mean, it's still pretty scary because he can do a truckload of damage, and I have no idea what he's intending to do. But he's pretty low on health. Excuse me. Let's take him down, and took him down with 16 health remaining. Not even as close as things can get. Right. So now we have Time Eater as our boss at the end of this. So let's see how that. I wonder how that went. So this was a huge mistake. What I did. I am not sure what I was thinking. I should have fought the Act One boss, but I think I was just worried that I would run out of time. But forgetting that there's another way that you can lose in this endeavor. Another way that you can fail in this endeavor is to run out of health. So if you don't know what happened in that event was, you get given the option. One of them is to fight an Act 1 boss and then gain some reward. One is to upgrade all of your cards, but then lose the ability to heal, like, at all for the remainder of the run. And to my credit, I'm keeping my health kind of high, but every little bit of damage I take now is just permanent death. I think I have the potion. No, I think I have the potion where if you die, you get brought back to life. Oh, one other reason why it was a mistake to take that uh, upgrading all our cards was because I just realized I have the potion where you can upgrade all of your cards anyway, and now that potion is useless. So I should have definitely been maybe, uh, if I had been a little bit more thoughtful about this, I wouldn't have made that mistake. Yeah. Yeah, looking back at this, this was a winnable run. Um, but just the stress of playing quickly is I am just not built for it. So as you can see, we rested. Nothing happened. We couldn't even upgrade anything, so that was a worthless campfire. We rest again, don't gain any more health, and now we fight Time Eater. And I've got more than enough time to beat him. And I think we're about to see some very dishonorable things about to happen, potentially. Because I'm fighting him, I do a lot of damage. Oh, okay, no. I'm just dead. I am just dead. So let's look at another run now. Let's look at a run entitled Awakened 1. So that first run, yeah, obviously when you watch footage after the fact, you're gonna notice mistakes that you make. Um, I think the main reason I took the upgrade option wasn't even because I wanted the upgrades. I think maybe I even um, maybe I don't know. Maybe I forgot that I had the potion, but I think I was mainly just worried about losing time to fighting a boss. But in retrospect, with the amount of time I had at the end of it all, I probably should have probably should have done things differently. So in this one, I am fighting elites. It's generally a good idea to fight elites on floor one, just to get some relics to get yourself going a little bit. Here we remove a defend from our deck. And in this one, I could have picked up Chemical X, hoping that I find Whirlwind. But what am I? That would have been too much of a Hail Mary, I think. So this is so far a deck without an identity. It's waiting for something to define it. And we're about to go into another elite fight. That's going to be two elites that we're fighting at full health on floor one, which is the elites being at full health. I mean, which is pretty scary. But if this footage made it into this video, presumably it means we made it past at least the Act 1 boss, so it shouldn't be that bad. These elites are really annoying if you don't have Whirlwind. If you do have Whirlwind, it's like they're not even there. It's just a free relic. And we have taken an absolute beating. That was rough. And we don't even we don't even get any good cards. And we have to rest. Man, how do I beat this guy with such a horrible deck? I'm actually curious to see how I even get past him. I guess we have a little bit of health, but ooh, we are down to a very low amount. And what's going on here? Ooh, we kill him. We were close, but the damage came through for us in the end. And I think I pick up a double tap there and Runic Pyramid. Huge pickup, but again, this deck doesn't really have, you know, an identity to it yet. There's potential for it to blossom, but for now it's just like even double tap is being used for like Clash, which is not the best. But then we pick up Perfected Strike, and all of a sudden we're like, okay, yeah, this is a Perfected Strike run. So what I do is here's the first time where I do something that many would consider dishonorable. I exit the game because I didn't like the option that I chose. I thought I still had defense in my deck, so I didn't want to remove any of my cards because all of them were good. And I don't know why I exited this time. I think it's because I realized I could have killed one and incapacitated a second one to minimize the amount of damage I'm taking. So we listen, we are not above doing things that are borderline cheating, or at least I'm not. It's like for getting past Speed Climber, I'm willing to do it, right? I'm willing to sell my soul. I will stoop to anything just because, frankly, I'm not convinced this achievement belongs in this game. And one option is I can just, cope and seethe and hope that the dev, you know, answers the many petitions I've started on change.org and removes it from the game, or I find a way to get past it, even if that entails maybe some creative lateral thinking, problem solving. Because another thing that happens when you exit to the main menu and go back is that it resets the clock to what it was when you first entered an encounter. So one thing that you can potentially do in a tricky boss fight is see how things are going, like plan it, play it as though it's not a speed run, plan a set of moves, then before you kill the boss, exit, go back in, the clock is reset, and then play the moves that you had planned in a quick fashion. Again, it's a coward's way to do it, but all is fair in speed running, I guess. If all is fair in speedrun achievements for games that are not built for speedrun achievements, is how I'll put it. Uh, you know, uh, if you're if you're gonna do something, if you're gonna have an achievement in a game that I don't think is reasonable, then I might do things that some people might not think are reasonable. Now, I don't do this constantly. Like I don't do it in this battle, even though I am spending some time thinking about my moves. I'm not then exiting at the end of the battle and being like, okay, let's do those same things only faster. So there are limits to how low I'm gonna stoop, but generally let's just say I'm not above it, right? So Runic Dome, I think, is a pretty automatic pickup. And now we're gonna go after the Awakened. Or we've beaten him before in the series, but as a speedrun boss, he can be very daunting. Just because you usually get to him in a very squishy state, and he is he is pretty scary. So we'll see how this battle goes. And so what I'm doing here is I don't want anything else in my deck, so I'm deliberately failing this event 5 times in a row. It's so annoying because of how much time it wastes. Is there a faster way to do that one event? I don't know, but the main thing is I just don't want it to put like a barricade or like some useless card in my deck that ruins everything I'm trying to do. And then I can't play Clash anymore. So this enemy is pretty tough because he's got a lot of health, he can do a lot of damage, and I have no idea what he's trying to do because I can't see. I can't see. I've got him under half health, but he's also got me under half health. It's a it's touch and go because one big attack could pretty much just end me. But he has been taken out. Now obviously I'm not gonna fight an elite. This I think writhing mass or whatever this guy's called is alt. Everybody's basically just really scary from now until the end. You do get a bit of health back though. Let's uh let's see what's happening here. Another thing to keep in mind is what sort of time we are at, because that will influence how recklessly I play. I think at this point I've got like a couple minutes left. Let me, yeah, I think we're at like just under 18 minutes. We'll take another look. Obviously, you can pause this, but I don't want to. Yeah, we're at just under 18 minutes. So it's really tight. I have to be really quick. And this is one of the worst combats I could get with a non-whirlwind deck with only 2 minutes to get to and beat the uh, the Act 3 boss. And another one of these guys. I'd rather fight one of these guys than four of than the previous four, because ultimately I think we're killing him quicker than the previous guys. Or maybe we're not. Anyway, I was forced to rest again, which is not great. So I see what time we're at, and I immediately feel like I've wasted too much time thinking about what to do. So I exited the menu and I come back, and I'm like, okay, now let's just play quickly and try to win. I'm not happy with the moves I picked, so I come back, and I try again. I take this guy out. I see what I've drawn, and I'm very upset at the amount of damage I've taken, so I go back again, and I'm no longer using this as a time save. I'm using this as a please bail me out for my poor decisions save. And you might think that's even worse from using it to shave a few seconds off. If you're making bad moves, this game is all about the consequences of your actions. You're making poor decisions, and then you're going to the menu and you're just evading the the righteous consequences, the divinely ordained punishments that you must endure for the unwise things you're doing. And to that I say, I frankly I don't care. If I am making mistakes, which I know I am. Most of them are because I've gotten to this boss and I've got to somehow find a way to kill him in under a minute. And frankly, I don't. I must have been at least a few hours into my speedrun attempts before I started getting this far consistently, and I was just ready for it to be done. And it's like I will do anything to make that a reality. And yeah, at a certain point, I give up because I was like, no, there was just no salvaging that. So that was the first run that got to the end and found the awakened. Now we're gonna take on. Well, we're gonna take on another run, and we're gonna have the time eater at the end of this one. Again, I immediately forfeit just because I want to get the 1 HP setting, and I'm planning out my path, seeing if I can maybe snipe out a free elite early on. I don't think we'll get to snipe out an elite. Maybe we will. We'll see. I don't think we will. Yeah. We get to the elite and we have to fight the elite at his full health. It's Lagavulin, which is also the name of a very delicious whiskey. Just gonna mention that. And also a very annoying elite in Slay the Spire. And so we got Flex, which is a pretty good pickup. I've picked up Twin Strikes because I don't know what the actual rates are, but it feels like Perfected Strike shows up for me way more often than Whirlwind. I find Bottled Flame, and it's the worst time to find it, so I just put it on Bash because I'm like, at least I can make people vulnerable on turn one. I gained some gold here. Pretty low health, but I decide to upgrade instead of resting. Come to this shop. I can buy another flex, which I do. And then I just opt to remove a defend. There's some nice defensive relics I could have picked, but I opt to save my money, I guess. And upgrade another flex, and we get to this guy again. The double flex, and then we only get to hit him once because we don't have that much energy. Do some okay damage on the second turn, but now we had low health to begin with, and this guy is doing thorns damage, which is frankly despicable. And this is very, very close because it's not just thorns damage. He also does attack you during his, retreat into my shell phase. Ooh, but we got this relic, which is huge, which is gonna give us extra energy per turn. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, we this deck still doesn't have any identity to it, but it has ingredients that if we find a good card, we can make something happen. So what do I pick at this point? I pick the Jaxed Relic, which gives us more strength at the beginning of combat, but then it goes away after turn one. Again, great with Whirlwind. Great with multi-attack cards like Sword Boomerang, but not so much with anything that we have in our build. Like, we don't have any good cards, right? So that's Pommel Strike is fine, but you gotta have cards to draw before Pommel Strike really becomes useful. And we've lost a lot of health, but finally Perfected Strike shows up, and at this point, I'm starting to believe. I pick up a relic that I think might be useful and opt to upgrade offering so that we can draw our cards more reliably. So immediately I pop offering because I want to try and do some good damage early on. We don't get the turn 1 kill, but turn 2 is good and we didn't take that much damage. Now, Perfected Strike definitely feels like a harder way to get this achievement done. It is it's yeah, it just has too many moving parts to it. And the more strikes you put in, the harder you make it to draw your perfected strike. It's quite I was gonna say it's almost literally a double-edged sword, but I don't know. I don't even know if that would be the correct way to use the term literally because like these are cards. They're not actual swords. But then the Ironclad is carrying a sword, so I don't know. At this point, my mind is kind of fried. So we at this point decide to upgrade the flex, and now we're fighting the bronze automaton as our second floor boss. Again, we draw. Again, we flex. We pommel strike and draw some more, and we only have one more attack. So the draw isn't getting us very far. We only have one perfected strike, and it's um not doing very much for us yet. And in fact, things are looking pretty grim against the bronze automaton. But with a triple flex, we do some okay damage. We're surviving. The anger is good. It's a zero cost thing, which multiplies itself. And at this point, I'm like, okay, we're gonna lose against this guy. Is there some other thing I can do? I opt not to use the offering at the start because I saw what cards I was gonna draw, and I saw that they weren't gonna help us. So I was like, maybe if I draw it at a later point, it'll help me. And maybe it'll somehow change the seeding of, the other cards I'm going to draw later down the line. Which, again, it's a very dishonorable thing to do. But listen, this is speed climber we're talking about. So now we have Perfected Strike. And we're still very low, but just enough to take him out. I should have probably. Oh no, I couldn't take that cultist potion because we had the relic that stops you from gaining potions. But that potion is pretty good. I think it gives you strength every turn. So immediately we're in some annoying combat. But if we can use offering and then when without taking damage we heal all of our health back because of the innate relic, the relic that starts out that the Ironclad starts out with. This time I do the more sensible thing. I'm like, instead of losing the ability to heal, let's fight an Act 1 elite and just try and get him done quickly. And we did lose a bit of time, and I didn't necessarily even want more relics, but I also wanted the least bad side effect from that event, and losing your ability to heal permanently is not it's not good. So this build, it took a while to come online, but amazingly is somehow still still surviving. And again, I exited the main menu because I'm like, there's a better way to play this fight, and I owe it to myself to try and make that happen. So I reset again because I guess I'm just really struggling with this combat. It's hard when all you have is single target damage and you have three enemies, especially enemies that will regenerate themselves if you let them uh, if you don't kill them within a set amount of time. See, like the guy at the back has already come back, half health, admittedly. So pretty pretty annoying. Lost a lot of time, and I don't even think resetting the main menu helped us. So I did take some madness because madness is it's a decent card. Losing the health was rough though because every bit of health helps. At this point, I'm resetting because I'm trying to get madness to apply to another card. What I should have done was I should have played the strike and then used the madness because then it would have had to go to a different card. If I did want to cheat like this, which like I'm cheating, but I'm also not doing it intelligently. What I'm not realizing is that you cannot make different things happen just by exiting and loading the game because whatever the game seeds, it's you know like the consequences of turns, like what's going to draw, like what random thing is going to be picked. It's some internal seed dictates it, and that is already set in stone basically when a game is loaded. So the only way to make different things happen is to do something different. You won't always be able to interrupt it, but if I've already played the strike, and if I have no strikes left in my deck, then, the madness would have to apply to something else. So at this point, I've kind of just given up on being able to get through this combat quickly. I'm like, whatever, dude. This is just it is what it is. So I flex. Flex is pretty good with these anger cards, and obviously with double tap, right? Because we're getting more benefit out of strength, getting more relics, and we're getting towards the end. How are we for time? I think we're making decent time. So really, the only thing that could stop us is death itself, which is never that far away in this game. And I'm trying to get through combats without losing health. And at this point, I'm like, are you serious? I'm gonna fight these guys. It's gonna cost me health. There were cards I would have liked to upgrade. A second madness upgraded would have been so good. So I'm like, okay, let's see if we can do this better. And the number of times I've been trolled where I have a single target damage deck that's pretty good, but then my very last trash mob combat ends up being this exact thing with these four guys. It's I know it's confirmation bias because I'm just remembering it more vividly just because of how annoying it is. But in my mind, it truly does feel like this kind of thing happened way more often than it should have. Which again, I'm sure I'm just completely wrong about that, and it happened at the time you would just statistically expect it to, and I'm just salty about it. So, you know, I'm still seething about it multiple days later, and I've forgotten all the other times when I did have easy penultimate combats, but lost anyway. Okay, so against the time meter, I'm like, okay, we have decent health, we have a decent amount of time. Like, it's doable. So I'm just trying to partially save time and partially make good moves because you have to pick your cards carefully. Every 12 cards you play, this guy will end your turn, gain strength on himself, and do damage to you. And I'm like, okay, so I need to find a way to just kill him. And I tried multiple times at the start. I got very deep into the combat, and I'm like, "Ugh, I don't like how this is going," and I'm trying again, and like I know people are gonna be like, "This is such a lame way to play." Listen, like I said, I am not a speedrunner by nature. I absolutely despised every moment of trying to get this achievement, and there is nothing that I wouldn't have been willing. Listen, if there was a button that you could just like, and the game introduced a button, and it was like instead of having to do this, press this button, and I'll just give you the achievement, and you don't have to do this, but you have to feel bad about it. I would have pressed that button in a heartbeat, man. Not just that, like I would have gone so much further. Like you know those trolley problems where it's like, ooh, there's a train track and there's one person on one side, five people on the other side, and you can flip the switch. Would you do it? What's the ethical thing to do? Well, if I was in a trolley problem where I was in charge of the switch and the ethical dilemma was, you know, I can either save these people or alternatively for every one person that the trolley runs over, I um like get one additional minute to get the speed climber achievement. Let me just say, let's just say I would have been tempted. Now, I was just so lost in my reliving of my trauma that I forgot how this battle ended. Did we die or I think he killed us, right? He killed us. How close did we get? Not even that close. So you know what? Good try, but close, but no cigar. Now let's take a look at the second awakened run that we did, and or that I did, and that I'm showing you now. So again, I'm forfeiting the run because I don't want these options. I want the options that you get when you don't even reach the first floor, the Act 1 boss. Because the ability to get through your first three combats quickly is invaluable. Obviously, Limit Break is a it's a you see Limit Break, you take Limit Break. Even if you don't have Flex, you don't have Inflame, you don't have Spot Weakness, you take it. And I upgraded it even before I had any source of strength, just because I was like, we probably should get that done. Now, I was lucky in that I sniped out these elites with really good luck. Because the way the map generation works is sometimes you will be generated a map in which within your first three combats, there might be elites, depending on what happens in the question marks in between. And to be able to take out an elite very quickly, because he only had one health, is huge. Now we have Whirlwind, we have Limit Break. I pick up a Clash because we don't have any strength yet. But this build has so much potential. Literally all we need is a source of strength. And to get rid of all of these blocks, which really messed up that turn for us. But as you can see, Whirlwind, so huge. Seeing Red, also so huge for Whirlwind, because it can be a lovely burst of damage. So I start out by making the boss vulnerable, and then I use Whirlwind. Not a lot of damage, but still more than I would have done from just strikes. So this very promising run, I'm feeling hopeful. Let's see how and why this ends up going horribly wrong. Because we all know if I'm showing you a run in this episode, we all know how it's gonna end. It's it's I mean, part of me was like, maybe I should keep people in suspense and not tell them what happens in each run, but no, I wouldn't do that. Not I don't care for like artificial suspense or clickbait. I'm a believer in knowing exactly what you're in for when you're watching a YouTube video, unless it's like some like fictionalized artistic, like a drama, like an episode of some TV show or some skit like that where the slow reveal of the plot is part of it. But if it's just a video where I'm telling you about the kinds of things I experienced in this game, it's well, part of it is I don't have a great poker face or poker voice, I guess. I wouldn't like you would know instantly. Like, is he happy about what happens in these videos or is he not? So there's that. So yeah. With that in mind, I opted for full transparency. So now we have to take out Hexaghost, and our main criterion is don't die. It's hard because we just don't have damage. And I'm constantly resetting because I'm like, what can I do? Because he's just chunking me down so quickly. And again, I'm resetting. Because, like I said, I have no shame, I have no honor. I'm willing to stoop to anything to try and get this achievement. So I don't use Seeing Red, I opt to save it for a hand when I have Whirlwind. And it's so sad having two Whirlwinds and not a single flex. So sad. At this point, I do pop my Seeing Red just so I can make him vulnerable. And now I'm actually not even sure how I manage to get through this. You know what I really should be doing? Which, sometimes I get into a fugue state and I forget that potions exist. I should have taken a look at what potions I had and seen if any of them could help. Because at this point, this is really starting to look like a video where I don't even get past the Act 1 boss. Have I mislabeled this? I'm genuinely curious. What happens? What happens? What am I even doing? So I bash, okay. Sword boomerang, okay. Whirlwind. I was tempted to defend, but I'm like, you're not gonna win by defending. So now I use Seeing Red again, and Whirlwind again, and I cannot use Clash because of the stupid burn. So what? What am I? Oh, I guess. I guess I just forgot to remove that from the video. I see. Hang on a second. So I I'm totally sorry. I just made you guys watch a whole run that didn't even get past the Act 1 boss. I was I mean, I was starting to suspect that the math just wasn't adding up in that fight. I'm like, I'm resetting, but how could I possibly make it past this guy? I just don't have enough damage or enough health. But hopefully that's the only failed run because we have 25 minutes more. in this video, but we are going at double speed, right? Let me just check that. Yeah. So 25 minutes really means uh, another 12 minutes, but it's leading me to suspect that there's, yeah, another failed run. Okay, so now we have 23 minutes left, and this is a lot closer to what it's like in a speed climber run that reaches the end. And you know what? I think it might even be a good thing that I'm leaving this in, just to let you know that not every run even makes it to the final boss. A lot of them you're gonna be ending them super early, which is part of what makes this so demoralizing for non-speedrunners who aren't used to playing like this. Is like so much of it will feel like wasted time where nothing good happened. All right, so let's just get through this video, and then we've got a couple more runs to get through, and I've saved the most dramatic one for the end. All right, come on. Let's 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 see. So sorry. I should be saying something, but I was just thrown for a loop by that failed run because I think I reviewed the part of the footage where I do end up getting to the awakened, but not the part where I clearly had some, you know, other aborted attempts before that. So again, Hexaghost, this time with Flex, pretty easy to take him down. And Runic Cube is a solid pickup. Has a downside, but more energy is just uh, just always good. And immediately I go back to the main menu for some reason. I'm not sure what that's about. So I picked up Berserk, which is a very scary card. It makes you vulnerable. If you upgrade it, it reduces the vulnerability from 2 to 1, but it it's hard to find places where it's safe to use it. Because on this battle, it would have been safe to use it, but it just didn't show up in turn one when this guy isn't attacking. But we killed him, pretty easily in the end anyway. And now this run is feeling like a run that has the potential to get. Hang on, what did I just do? Did I remove a card or did I duplicate a card? Right? Sorry, I just want to pay attention to what this event was. Yeah, duplicate a card. For some reason, I thought I was removing Perfected Strike, and I was like, that's a like, how sleep deprived was I? But no, I wasn't. I wasn't doing anything insane. Well, not yet, anyway. And I think we're just gonna see how this one went. Um, it really is interesting to see these runs played back, a little bit detached from the stress of having played them in real time, but still remembering or being able to reconstruct pretty easily how I would have felt going through this stuff. And yeah, it was not pretty. It was not fun. It was It was a whole thing. Um, so with Whirlwind, we almost were able to take him down, and I think we did take him down without taking damage, which was pretty huge. And we do get our Flex and Whirlwind on turn one, but it's still not enough to kill these guys. And we also have Perfected Strike. So this build is kind of going in, it's pulling in different directions, which is sort of jack of two trades, master of neither, I guess, is how you'd characterize it. So what I do is, I'm like, we should buy something. So I buy a health potion, and then I think maybe I just use it, or maybe I save it for a rainy day, and I opt to rest because I'm not feeling confident. And I do take an early berserk because only one person is attacking on turn one. And I pop seeing red, and this is a big turn two. Double tap perfected strike is, even with a weak perfected strike, it's a pretty savage thing. So I immediately drink the potion that gives you more max health. And unfortunately, that shop was not very productive for us. Approaching the Act 2 boss, how is this gonna go? This guy I find is really easy to fight. Especially with Whirlwind, if you have some way of clearing his minions every once in a while, you gotta draw Whirlwind to make that happen. And we're having some questionable luck in this fight. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I need to pop seeing red to make this Whirlwind count. And so we do some good damage, and we take him down pretty comfortably. Every time we're fighting this guy, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a decent run. And hang on, do I not take any relics in that one? Let's do a replay on that. Yeah, I think we opt not to take any relics because I'm like, I don't want to live with the downside of either of these. So maybe that was a mistake, but in the heat of the moment, under speedrun constraints, I couldn't think of any of those relics that I wanted to take, I guess. Multiple perfected strikes. And I'm trying to distribute the damage so that I can take them all out in one go with a good solid whirlwind, while also trying to avoid damage. Whirlwind finally shows up for us, and still isn't enough to do the job, and one of them comes back, which is tragic, costs us some more time. Now we upgrade the Berserk to make it better. And take that one guy out on the first turn, and Whirlwind didn't live up to its potential in that fight. And of course, the transient shows up to mess with me. I um I obviously, this is early on in my uh, playthrough. I haven't beaten the transient yet, and this was never gonna be a build that was capable of beating the transient. Maybe if I had like spot weakness and like two more upgraded flexes and two limit breaks, I could get to the point where um I was outputting enough damage to take that guy out, but no, all he really did was waste our time. All right, so let's we're fighting these guys again, and we do have Whirlwind in our deck, but it's not a Whirlwind deck. It's a perfected strike deck that also has Whirlwind in it, which kind of makes it worse from the perfected strike angle, but then every once in a while you're up against multiple enemies and you fire up your whirlwind and you take them out, and it's good. It's good. All right, so we're coming to the end of this run, and because there are 5 minutes, I think probably what happens is against the boss, what I probably do is I do the whole quit to main menu trick a bunch of times. So let's see what happens in the shop. At this point, I feel like I wouldn't be that confident in this run. Just because this run never fully blossomed as a perfected strike. Hang on a sec. Is that the transient again? Like, are you actually serious right now? And and he's gonna do damage to us. Oh, what a what a kick in the teeth that is. At this point, I'm like, let's just get more perfected strikes, make use of the extra energy, do extra attacks. And obviously, we're not going to kill him. The point is to just do enough damage, because the more damage you do to him, the less his damage eventually is. So I'm like, do I rest? Do I upgrade? I'm like, no, you got to rest. Otherwise, you have no chance. No chance in hell. And Whirlwind is a good option just to take out the minions in the front. And now it's basically about can we win the fight? And the answer to that is no. Okay, so this is Ali from the future, and I'm here because there's something that isn't right about this picture that's in front of you right now. I don't know if you noticed, but there's something very wrong here. And I'm sure some of you did notice and potentially rushed to leave comments, but for those of you who didn't, let's do a little zoom and enhance. So let's take a look at this. And immediately, I think you should see what I'm talking about. There were 5 potions that remained unused in this combat. 5 whole potions, which means at some point I found the relic that gives you extra potion slots, and then completely filled my entire potion belt, and then didn't use any of these potions in what would have been the final fight. Now, obviously, just because you have potions doesn't mean that they're going to be useful. Maybe these potions are garbage and wouldn't have made a difference. Well, you know what? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at exactly what these potions could have done for us. So first of all, we have liquid bronze. 3 thorns every turn gives us a bit of extra damage for enemies that are attacking us. Not great, but also, a bit of extra damage can come in pretty useful. Regen potion. Regain 5 health every turn. And that can obviously add up to a lot depending on how long the combat goes. The enemies aren't always trying to damage you every turn. Sometimes you just get turns to do stuff and could have gained a bunch of health in those turns. Okay, but by themselves, maybe it wouldn't have been decisive. Let's look at potion number 3. Blessing of the Forge. Upgrade every single card in your deck for the remainder of this combat. And yeah, at this point, things are it's looking like a pretty egregious mistake to not have taken these potions. And there are 2 more left. There's the Cultist potion, which means we would gain 1 strength every turn, dealing even more damage. And finally, there's the Swift potion. Draw 3 cards, at a time of your choosing. Now, do I know definitively that these potions would have made the difference? I haven't crunched the numbers, but I strongly suspect, especially with the draw 3, that if I had used all these potions, I would have won. Or I would have had a much better chance of winning, especially if I was prepared to, like, I don't know, exit to the main menu and keep trying, which I've already proven that I have no moral qualms about. Now, I know people are gonna say, like you recorded this whole video complaining about Speed Climber, when it turns out it was a skill issue all along. You could have won if only you'd been better at the game. And honestly, I mean that's partially true. Like, I know mistakes get made in the heat of the moment, but this is an unusually bad mistake to not use 5 potions. But the thing is, I'm not even that mad at myself. And the reason is this, it's because speedrunning this game was just such an unenjoyable experience for me that it's really not the kind of thing that inspires me to. It doesn't bring out the best in me, right? So I'm not I'm not even mad at myself. So yeah, I was. The other thing was that this video I distinctly remember. So these videos are from 2 sessions that I played across 2 different days. About 3 hours on the first day, about 2 hours and 20 minutes on the second day. And the first day I was just really very tired. So, I was also just kind of exhausted to begin with. And I think this would have been like midway or towards the end of the session on the first day. So I'm not even gonna hold it against myself, but it is funny to look back at and be like, this is a thing that happened. But yeah, it's I'm not gonna hold it against myself. You know, I don't care anymore. I mean, at this point, I just don't care anymore. I just don't care, and on that uplifting note, we'll resume with the commentary that was ongoing and just finish the rest the rest of the video. Okay. So at least I got through that without too much quitting to main menu. What made it longer than I was expecting was those transient encounters. All right, so that's that. And now there's just a couple runs left to look at. There's this run, which is fairly short. It's going to be about 10 minutes. So this is a pure just get to the final boss run and see what happens kind of situation. I'll put timestamps in the episode, obviously, just to organize the video a little bit and to to give a sense of like just how many failed runs I'm showing, and I'll even put in a timestamp showing that okay, some of these were runs that didn't make it all the way to the final boss or the Act 3 boss. So an early whirlwind is obviously a godsend, and I'm sure there are players who are good enough at this game where they're like, oh, if you give me an early whirlwind, then it's not possible for me to lose. But you know what? I'm not a if I was if I didn't have the pressure of having to play fast, because if I could play slow, then I could get into like long combats that are beneficial because they give you stuff. But that obviously wouldn't work for this speedrun achievement because you wouldn't you wouldn't then get it done in under 20 minutes. So again, you're just damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation with this achievement. So another inflame is good. So this deck is starting to get some shape. We've got lots of sources of strength. A limit break would be very cool. Another inflame. We're just piling on strength at this point. Another inflame, and we bash him to make him vulnerable. And big whirlwind does big damage. Not really feeling too nervous about this battle. He does do some pretty scary damage, but ultimately we take him down. And offering is great for being able to reliably draw a whirlwind. And I pick up the crown because I'm like, okay, I have most of the cards I need, or at least that was my thinking. I'm like, okay, if I don't take it, then this run is kind of, I'm sabotaging myself. I need the energy, even if it comes in a sub-optimal form. So we have the energy, but then we have there's only one card we're offered at the end of combat instead of three, and that one card, do we take it or leave it? But my thinking was we also have shops. There are like if we really need a card, there are other options to get cards. Um, and yep, that was my idea. So now Whirlwind is actually starting to really kick in. Upgrading the Inflame is great as well. And I opt for the Inflame just to make sure we have a strong turn two. And yeah, we were able to kill them. I even take the Anger. Now, maybe that was a mistake. But with the strength that we're stacking, it's one extra way of doing damage. And I think it helped us kill that enemy in the back row on the first turn. So we have a bunch of cards that aren't upgraded. I actually upgrade Bash, and I think my thinking there was, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, is that oftentimes I just don't use Bash because the one turn of vulnerable doesn't really even make sense in terms of dealing damage, but making it two applications of vulnerable instead is better. I don't know if there was a better option, but again, I did not have the time to waste. So Sneko, unfortunately, is going to land a hit, but we kill him shortly after that. And we're getting close to the boss. The Act 2 boss. With a fairly solid build. Things that could admittedly make it better, but definitely a build that has a strong sense of what it's trying to do and how it's trying to deal damage. All right. So we have pretty high health. Oh, and it's this guy. Easy fight. Don't even worry about it. He's vulnerable for days. Gotta make sure you use spot weakness on the correct enemy, otherwise I think you'll just waste it. And again, we take out all his minions, and he's not even attacking, and I think he's just gonna die in this turn probably. Yep. And Runic Pyramid is a strong pickup. So let's see how I'm gonna completely botch this run against the Time Eater with Whirlwind, with Inflame, with Spot Weakness, with Offering. Already I'm having issues. I'm not, I guess, not that bad, but we lost a bit of health. Alright, a bit more health. Slowly we're getting whittled down. Searing Blow would have been an interesting build. I came close once with a Searing Blow build. Once. And I don't think I even recorded it because I think I didn't realize I wasn't recording. I think the final fight was against Donu and Deka, and I ended up winning with Searing Blow, but I won in like 21 minutes. Like the 20-minute timer happened like 5 minutes into the fight, the 20-minute point. Okay, let's uh let's see what happens against this guy. And this is going to be a good sort of prelude to what the boss is like. Because the boss is tankier than this guy. But if I'm struggling to kill this guy, and if I'm taking damage from him when I should be killing him earlier, then there's a strong likelihood that the boss is not going to be any kinder to us. A good thunderclap at the start is nice. We will be taking horrible damage though. No whirlwind because of our terrible deck. Offering doesn't help, so we're taking even... No, we're not. We're avoiding a little bit of damage, but we're losing time against these guys. Finally, whirlwind shows up. And a perfected strike. That was funny. Alright, this guy. This tentacle monster is not that much of a threat. And it's another one of these guys, eh? Another one of these guys, and again, I think without limit break, it's just really hard. You gotta be you gotta have a much better deck than this if you want to win without limit break. All right. With 35 health, with not that much time to fight the boss, let's see how it goes. Spot weakness at the start is good. Madness is fine. And let's see when the quit the menu spam starts. Yep, there we go. Quit the menu. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I have a potion that upgrades my cards. This time I actually do use my potions, but I am still looking at this fight and thinking this is not looking promising. We just do not have enough damage. We needed limit break or a much more streamlined deck. There's too much garbage in this deck. Uh, like we're getting him fairly low. Fairly low, but at this point I just give up. And I'm like, okay, that's sad, but what are you gonna do? And the final run I'm gonna show you today is another timekeeper run. So let's see how this one goes. Just a second. There we go. So once again, I restart just to get the bonus where enemies have 1 health at the start of combat. And I'm trying to scope out to see if there's an easy way to maybe snipe out an elite. And I'm not even sure what card I got there. But I think I pick up Perfected Strike there, yeah. So at least it's good to know early on what kind of a build you're gonna get. And we get a second Perfected Strike in the shop, which is a huge boon. Now you might be thinking, this is a very solid start. So the question raised then is, when, where, and how does it go wrong? And to be honest, I'm curious to find out itself. So I know what goes wrong. I know how this run ends, because like I said, it's the the most dramatic out of my many failed attempts. But it it well, Red Skull is a great pickup. Yeah, the run felt like it had a lot going for it. We even get to remove yet another defend. We get both our perfected strikes upgraded, I think. And then this combats like this are bad for us because of, you know, the fact that we are relying on single target damage. But even then, we got through it pretty quickly. As I take a quick sip of water, let me take out those guys. Do I pick up Whirlwind or do I opt to go for a more focused deck? Looks like maybe I didn't pick up Whirlwind because I don't see it showing up. Yeah, no, maybe I just didn't pick up Whirlwind. Which, to be honest, if that's the case, I'm proud of myself for doing the um, mature thing, and we again pick up the relic where we lose the ability to get potions, but I'm like, I already have potions that I can use in a pinch. One of them does a bit of damage that can maybe save us a bit of damage by killing an enemy quicker. And yeah, it looks like there's no Whirlwind in our deck. And obviously Whirlwind would have been useful against these guys. But ultimately, it's better to have a more focused strategy, right? At least that's the idea. Now, without giving away too many spoilers, let's try and figure out where time was lost in this episode. In this run, I mean. What what went wrong? Obviously, these combats aren't being ended on turn one, and in fact, often we're not even killing a single enemy on turn one. That is a problem, right? We also don't have a way to scale strength. We're just relying on scaling outside of combat by just picking up more strikes, but there's our first source of strength. It's not permanent strength, it's just, it makes one turn stronger, but it's okay. Certainly, it's not bad. And again, I was offered the chance to get Whirlwind, and I think I don't take it. That might have been. I think it's 50-50. Because if Whirlwind would have saved us some time, especially if we drew it and flex at the same time, would have been. Maybe, but then it could have made the boss fights more difficult. So now I opt to upgrade the Clash, just opting to have cards that do strong damage just out the gate. The wound is not good, prevents us from playing Clash in this instance, but big damage means we kill this enemy fairly quickly, and I put in some angers into my deck because I'm like, okay, at least that way we can get some value out of some more value out of Flex. Because Flex really affects cards that either have lots of hits in one go, like Pummel or Sword Boomerang or Whirlwind, or it affects your cards that are usually cheap and do low damage, like your 0 cost or your 1 cost cards. And again, I opt to not take Whirlwind, but in this case, I think it was the obvious choice. Taking another Perfected Strike, and again, it's this guy. Easy fight. I opted not to take the Offering in the first turn, thinking that we could set up a better one later on. Or whatever it was that I didn't play in the first turn. I was like, we could do a better thing with it later. We are drawing pretty reliably. Now, I think I opt not to take any cards there, but it it like there's so many situations where if you have the benefit of hindsight, you can be like, well, if I had taken that one card, then knowing what I know now about how the run went, maybe it could have been different. But that's really not the way to be thinking about speedrun stuff, like ruminating on that level. If it wasn't obvious in the moment, then you shouldn't, after the fact, feel like you made a mistake. Although on some level, it's inevitable that you'll feel disappointed. And I'm at this point, like, if I had Whirlwind, some of these battles would have maybe been different. And speaking of places where the run lost time, here's a here's the transient come to just fuck our shit up. This is me seeing like, is there just a quicker way to get through these turns, and also to reliably make sure we're not being dealt damage. The perfected strike is great. I'm like, I'm not even gonna play cards after I bring him down to the point where he does 0 damage, just to speed up the turns a little bit. And that's another huge issue with the transient is it's not just that he wastes your time, which he does, it's that if you have bad luck, he can just do unreasonable amounts of damage to you. And at this point, I'm like, this run feels like it could go somewhere. If things just go our way a little bit. But we need to start getting some sort of luck. And get through this fight. We lost a lot of time fighting him. So I just removed my defend because I'm like, we need to have more reliable draw. And then we run into these guys. More time lost. Another battle where Whirlwind, had we taken it, maybe it could have saved us a few seconds. And we're forced to rest because of our low health. Another battle where maybe Whirlwind could have helped had we taken it. Not that we lost, but that we would have won quicker. So I'm zipping through as fast as I can. We've got 3 minutes to get to the boss, and again, multi-enemy combat, draining even more of our time. It's it's a it's a whole thing, isn't it? At this point, I'm starting to lose hope. Another combat where Whirlwind could have helped, another multi-enemy combat that isn't well suited for our single target damage. And at this point, there's just over a minute left. I'm just running as fast as I can. Okay, this guy, just one enemy, that's fine. Just don't even care about optimal play. Just play cards as quickly as you can. Ooh. Now we have just under a minute left. And now we get to the time eater. Where I'm like, what? How do I beat this guy in under a minute? And there are 4 minutes left in the total duration. Another about 2 minutes that we're gonna see since we're doing it in double speed. I think we're gonna see a lot of quitting to menu here. Yeah, I'm like I was going too slow. I was going too slow, and at this point, I read somewhere that you should raise your frame rate, but I think you're also supposed to disable VSync? Hang on. What happened to Oh no, you're supposed to exit the game and come back to get the changes to take effect. So and because I'm capturing the window, yeah. So now I'm back. Yeah, so I don't even think this made a difference, but I was just feeling such desperation at this point. I'm like, dude, come on. Dude, come on. Just and all of those past encounters were flashing in my mind. Like, why did the transient have to show up? Why did we have to have three fights in a row with like three plus enemies in them? Why this? Why didn't I take Whirlwind? Although Whirlwind might have hurt us actually in the final boss fight, but we would have arrived in with more time. And I'm like, okay, what can we do? Because we're doing damage, but we don't have the rapid scaling that we would have had if we had, I don't know, lots of flexes and limit breaks. So at this, we kill him, we win the run. This is actually my first kill against Time Eater. And look at the time. 20 minutes, 29 seconds. Could I have somehow shaved almost 30 seconds off of that fight? Maybe, but I would have had to almost be using like task logic, like not even thinking, just knowing just not even thinking in terms of moves, but thinking in terms of button presses and just getting them as quickly as possible. And then if I don't get them, just resetting. But here's the other issue is the moment you kill this guy, the game is saved. I kill him not knowing how much time has passed, but kind of knowing that I'm past the 20-minute mark. Part of me is hoping against hope that maybe somehow I counted it wrong. But as soon as I killed him, the cheese strategy is it comes to an end because this then becomes the point at which you're saved. And even if I did Control Alt Delete and it would put me back into this point where I've beaten the guy and I'm just seeing the uh, the final little thing where you encounter the heart and you do a trivial amount of damage and then you just go to sleep, I guess. And then I'm obviously not in the mood to watch the credits, so I just ended that. So this is, as I said earlier, a non-speedrunner's experience getting the speed climber achievement in Slay the Spire. And I'm gonna be uh upfront about it. I didn't enjoy it. I just don't enjoy. Well, let me rephrase it. There are speed focused achievements in games that are made to be that are made to be real-time games that I enjoy. I really like the speed achievements in Halls of Torment, for example, the uh, the Bullet Heaven game, where I'm like, okay, some of them could have been even even made even more difficult, and I would have still enjoyed them because it's that kind of a game. Whereas I play Slay the Spire for different reasons. I play Slay the Spire for reasons other than the joy that speedrunners get from just playing quickly and not thinking about anything else, right? My one issue with this is that like this is such a beautiful game with amazing like let's just see just some of the visuals. that we're looking at. Beautiful artwork, lovely, almost Salvador Dali inspired design on some of these enemies. The cards are wonderful. The animations are great. Uh, I don't know if we're seeing the animations in a you know good way because I disabled particle effects because that's another thing that you're supposed to do if you're speedrunning. It's so many of these little things that like it's fine if you enjoy them, but the issue is only speedrunners will enjoy them. Maybe if there was some happy medium where it's like even something like making it 25 minutes instead of 20 minutes would have made it a much more enjoyable thing to get through. So you can, you know, maybe obviously any sort of speed achievement, even if it's generously timed, you're not going to be sitting there reading all the text, immersing yourself in it, but you'll at least have time to register things other than just the bare basic mechanics of getting through it. So that was my feeling. I am, like I said, I love playing games. I'm a completionist. I will try to get every achievement in a game. I'll at least attempt it. And if it's humanly possible, then I will usually get it. But some achievements are built so that only certain kinds of people will enjoy them. Um, so um, this one was one of those that I don't think there's any conceivable way that I could bring myself to enjoy it. And again, if you did enjoy getting this achievement, if you did like it, frankly, I thought the game didn't really need it. But lots of games are doing this though, and I guess these are going to be my closing thoughts. Now I know speedrunning as a concept has gone very mainstream over the last decade and a half, let's say, and it seems like almost every other game that comes out these days has some sort of speed or time-related achievements in it. Even in games that themselves have nothing to do with speed. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work so well. Now, I know the overall tone of this video has been pretty negative in terms of how I feel about Speed Climber in particular. But I thought rather than end on a negative note, let's try and let's see if we can think about how we could have achievements like these in non-real-time games in a way that works. So, like, one issue that I had was that Slay the Spire is a turn-based game. The fundamental time unit in the game isn't seconds, right? It's turns. And to make players play against the clock just it feels jarring. But there are ways to make it work. And one example that comes to mind is uh, The Witness, which is, one of the, I would say one of the best, one of the most legendary puzzle games ever made. Now, it's not a turn-based game, but it's a game where the overwhelming majority of the puzzles in the game have no time constraints to them. So, like, you can solve them at your own pace. But at the end of the game, or towards the end of the game, there's also an optional challenge section where you're solving random puzzles against the clock. And it's very difficult, it's very tough, and in my opinion, very well implemented. Now, I know not everybody liked it because it kind of it's a departure from the overall feeling of the game, because most of the game has a very meditative and philosophical feeling to it, and then there's this one section where you're just running around like a maniac. So there's a bit of a dissonance there. But the reason I thought it was and I'm not saying it was perfect, but the reason why I thought it worked was because this section was presented as part of the game world. That really, you have to do something special to unlock it. And then completing it actually means something in the context of the actual game, right? So, what the witness didn't do, what it did not do, was it didn't ask you to go back and solve the non timed puzzles from the rest of the game as though they were timed puzzles, right? It wasn't asking you to do a generic speedrun. And that's why I thought it worked. And something like that could have worked in this game, like if a different game mode had been created, which specifically rewards the player for going quickly. Like, I don't know, if you don't defeat the floor bosses within a certain like real time limit, maybe you start taking health damage every second, or something like that. I'm sure there's many ways to implement it, but what something like that would have done was it would have given a motivation to play that way, uh, which is tied to the actual world and lore of the game, as opposed to what we have currently, where you're just being asked to play the regular turn-based game as though it's not a turn-based game, which makes for an odd experience. And so I think doing it in a different way would have maybe resulted in a sort of happy middle where people who enjoy playing fast and who like it when games reward them for playing fast would have would have their desires met, and also people like me who, like, we don't speedrun for the sake of speedrunning, but we will enjoy achievements like that if there's some in-game meaningful reason to do it. We would also be happy. So, something like that, I think, could definitely work in games like this. But I think just throwing in, you know, out of context, just play this one section of the game really, really fast, uh, that's kind of, I think, a lazy way to do it. I mean, I see the writing on the wall, and I feel like developers are just gonna do it the lazy way and just keep doing it like that. So I don't necessarily expect things to change, but I do genuinely think that there's a better way to do it, and that's just my small attempt to try and convince people that something better can be attained, right? And with that, I think that's about all I have to say. So uh, we're gonna draw. We're almost at the end. We're just gonna draw this part of the video to a close, and then I'm just gonna have a small clip where I just show the unlocks that I got while I was attempting Speed Climber, and then we'll just end the this very long, very salty video. All right. Okay. So the last thing we have to do today is to just quickly go through the unlocks that I got while attempting Speed Climber. The first one is going to be a bunch of cards. That is Wild Strike, Evolve, and Immolate. Wild Strike is potentially useful for perfected strike builds, but because of the wounds, it was a card that I preferred not playing itself if I had any other viable options. Evolve, I just had no idea what to do with, so I never picked it up. Immolate, I picked up once, and I made it to the second floor boss and then died to the boss. So I can tell that it's a way of doing damage, and I'm sure there are ways to make it work really well. I just wasn't able to figure out how. So next we have a few other unlocks. That is some more cards. Havoc, Sentinel, and Exhume. Havoc and Sentinel I just never really picked up because they weren't part of the builds I was going for. Exhume could have been interesting because there are some cards that exhaust which are useful for ironclad speed running builds, but it just Exhume just never showed up at the right time. I don't think I ever got any real value out of it. So that was some more cards, and I believe next we have an achievement. Right. So this is the immediate aftermath of me unlocking Shrug It Off for winning a battle with 1 HP left. I wasn't even trying to get this achievement. I just got it by accident because this was towards the end of the first session of me trying to get Speed Climber. Because, you know, I did this. There was one 3 hour session on one day and then about a 2 hour and 20-minute session the following day. This was towards the end of the session on the first day, and I was really tired, really exhausted, really irritated, and I was on tilt at this point, just playing badly, hoping the enemies would kill me. And there was one battle where instead of killing me, I somehow won with 1 HP left at the end, and and got this achievement in the process. So that was kind of funny. Oh yeah, I should add that it says I have 7 HP, but that's because the Ironclad starts with a relic where you heal 6 health after every combat. So I won the combat with exactly 1 health left, and then healed the 6 HP to put me at 7. So there's that, and I believe next we have some more in-game unlocks. Actually, before I look at those, I guess I wanted to really take a peek at that Shrug It Off achievement in the trophy cabinet. But next, we do have some more in-game unlocks. We have some relics. So we have Blue Candle, Dead Branch, Singing Bowl, which I'm sure are useful relics. I'm sure I even picked them up in future runs, but I couldn't really tell you if off the top of my head if any of these are like amazing, game-breakingly good relics. It seem like they're just kind of good. Like there's no one item out of these that I would say I came across and I was like, wow, this has completely saved my run. Right? They're good, but not necessarily, single-handedly win you a run. Kind of good, right? That was my feeling on those. And next, I believe we have another achievement. Right. So this was the immediate aftermath of this achievement, Come At Me, which, again, I wasn't specifically trying to get. It kind of just happened. Happened very early on in the run. As you can see, I have only 3 items. One of them is the starting relic, not really relevant. The second one is Niao's Blessing, which is relevant because it makes enemies for the first 3 combats have only 1 health. And then the third relic deals 3 damage to enemies at the start of combat and doesn't count as an attack. So I went into a battle, enemies had only 1 health, they took 3 damage, they died, and then I got the achievement for winning a battle without attacking. And next we just have a couple boss killing achievements. So this was the first time I took out the champ, and let's just let it play, and then I'll show you the achievement that popped. He's about to go down, and when he goes down, it will mark the point in the game where I unlocked this achievement for taking out the champ. And next, finally, there's just this achievement, which I've already shown as well in let's go a little bit back and see a little bit more of the combat, and then I'll let it play. This was the achievement for my first kill against the Time Eater, which incidentally was also very close to beating Speed Climber, but not quite close enough. 30 seconds over the mark, but good enough for us to at least kill the boss and get that achievement. And having shown you all of this stuff, it's time to end this episode. Next episode, if all goes as planned, I should be showing you something very special. I won't keep you in suspense. I should hopefully be showing you a successful winning attempt on Speed Climber, and then we'll have a lot of fun going through it, sort of play by play, and seeing how that happened. But yeah, hopefully. Right. So on that note, thank you for watching. Hope you had a good time, and until the next time, take care.